All right, what's going on, everybody? We got another stream this week. This time, we're going to be reading some Choujin X. I've read the first chapter or two, but it was years and years ago when it first started. Now it's chapter 63-ish, although they do like 63.4 or whatever, so it's probably like chapter 80, really. But yeah, we're going to read some Choujin X. I had talked about doing a Gachi Akuta tier list earlier this week, but I figured today would be a good day to do like a chill read through stream. Are we reading it from scratch? So yeah, we're gonna read it from chapter 1 because I've never gone beyond like chapter 2, I think. We got Grace in the chat. What's going on, Grace? Edens, what's going on, Edens? Justin Garcia, what's going on, Justin? Pleasure to have you, as always. How's everybody doing today? How's our week been so far? It's chapter 63, but really it's chapter 101. Okay, makes sense. Let's read it together. Yeah. That's what I'm here for. So for context, like I said, I've only read the first chapter or two. I read it like when it first dropped, and then I was like, whatever. And then I've never watched or read Tokyo Ghoul. I know what Tokyo Ghoul is. I know the anime and manga are different. I never got around to reading or watching it. I do want to check. Do we get a new Martial King today, or is that next week? If there's a new Martial King, I don't think so. That's weird. Okay, yeah. So, new chapter next week. Ouji, so I finished Dragon Quest Adventure of Dai anime, not manga, yesterday, and I cried. Man, that ending is bittersweet for me, because everyone gets like the perfect happy ending, except for well, really two characters, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen how Dragon Quest ends, but my god, is that not like one of the all-time best anime? Like, it's so good. The characters are good, the fights are amazing, it's like the perfect fantasy anime. It's just 10 out of 10 perfection. Z-Mom says Tokyo Ghoul is one of my top 5 favorite manga series. It's a high standard then. Choujin X also has a decent number of episodes, chapters. I think there are about 100 in total, not counting all the like half chapters. I was just about to start reading it when I saw your notification. It kind of seems like the perfect time to check it out. It's at that point where it's not like make or break. Excuse me, because I think it's technically Jump Plus, but I'm not sure. But it's at that point, right, where like this is kind of where the series is going to make its bones. Usually after a few years, you kind of know what the future is of a manga. With Jujutsu Kaisen, or after like chapter 70, people knew it was going to blow up. It was just a matter of time. Dawn to Dawn was a weird one. So Dawn to Dawn was a bit of a late bloomer. It got like a big surge with manga fans right after the Evil Eye arc, but then it kind of stagnated. for a bit. So Jump Plus is a bit different. So something like Choujin X, I feel like this is pretty much it. Until they announce an anime, I wouldn't expect like anything major to change for the state of the series. I wouldn't expect, you know, people to start talking about it out of nowhere. I just think it's one of those series that people kind of read in the backlog, which honestly kind of nice. But considering people do really like it and they've liked it for a few years now, and it was created by the person who made Tokyo Ghoul, and so many people would love to see like a new Tokyo Ghoul anime. I think Choujin X, there is a serious chance of it getting an anime. I wish people talked about it. It was perfectly wrapped up. What a great story. Oh, so Dragon Quest. Yeah, Dragon Quest was a weird one because with Dragon Quest, like everyone was watching it, but nobody was really talking about it. And I just think the big problem with Dragon Quest is just getting the manga. Like I don't even, let's go on the Viz website. You can't get English volumes. They started reprinting them like a year into the anime, but they stopped printing them after volume 5, which sucks. It sucks big time. Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. Free chapters. Yeah, so you can only, even on their website, you can only read up through volume 5. So I don't know what happened there. I think maybe the manga just wasn't selling, which is a shame because the anime is really, really good. But I guess enough people weren't buying the English volumes to justify translating the whole series, which sucks, but it is what it is. Anyway, we got Eddie Rayman in the chat. What's going on, Eddie? Pleasure to have you as always. Anyway, so let me just peek chat real quick. Okay, so we're gonna read Choujin X. I'm gonna start right from chapter 1. Obviously, if you don't want to know anything about Choujin X, this stream isn't for you. I'm not going to read every single page, but I am going to be reading the manga, talking about it. So if you haven't yet and you don't want to get spoiled, not for you. Does anyone care about Choujin X? That's a good question. Let's go to ranking. So Choujin X, as far as I can remember, has always been in the top 40 on Manga Plus. At least in the last year or so. In fact, usually in the top 30. And considering it's like 3 years old at this point, something like that, that's impressive. That means for 3 years, it's held people's attention. So that places it, trying to think of a good comparison. Excuse me. Let's go to, because it's not really fair to compare it to like the top 10. Let's go to, we go to the Viz website, Shonen Jump. If we go to their what's hot this week, so it's not in the top red on Shonen Jump. So I mean, people follow it. It's not like massively popular, but it's popular enough that it stays in the top 30 on Manga Plus. So people read it. I just don't think there's really a huge reason to talk about it. In Manga Plus, only the beginning and end of a manga are available. Is there any way to read the whole manga on a computer without spending money? That depends on the manga. So like, I know they do a thing where you can read the series and then once you read a chapter once, you kind of lose it. So like if I go to One Piece, yeah, so the website and the app are different. If you go on the app on your phone, you can read all the chapters for free. They just let you read it once. The website is different. Like if I go to One Piece on the website, it tells me read all chapters for free on the app. And I think that's like kind of like a streaming thing where like they do it by series. Black Clover does that as well. So if I go to Choujin X, let's see if Choujin X does that as well. What about Mad? Mad does that as well. Centauria. Yeah, so I would just read on the app. If you have like an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, you can read all the chapters you want, but most of those chapters you read them once and then I think they lock you out after like 24 hours. But you don't need to pay for Manga Plus. Did I hear about the MangaDex DMCA stuff? No. Did that just happen today? Let me check Twitter. Let's see. Uh, 8 hours ago, MangaDex getting DMCA'd into oblivion is the perfect exemplification, I don't know if that's the right word, of my biggest issue with Japanese publishers. They would much rather take down ways people can actually consume their manga, even if they have abandoned it, rather than put in effort, excuse me, to make it more accessible. I would be curious to see which series got taken down. So with a site like MangaDex, I kind of don't care because they were already missing like a bunch of stuff. Like there's a ton of series. If you want to read chapters, like new chapters on MangaDex, you can't read them in English. So I don't know if they did it, if those publishers did it across the board, like English, French, German, whatever. A lot of times when I go to read manga on MangaDex, the new chapters are only in like French, Spanish, or German. A lot of them aren't even in English. A lot of times I just use, I like the website for MangaDex better, but in terms of convenience and accessibility, Weeb Central, which is like the new Mangacy, Weeb Central is so much better. I don't think there's like a single manga that I've gone to pull it up on Weeb Central and it wasn't there in English. So it's just more of the same with manga publishers doing that. It sucks because it's kind of an unpredictable thing Like, they randomly choose when to do that. They don't do it, at least as someone who makes YouTube videos, they don't like consistently pick the same series over and over, and they don't do it like every week of every month of the year. They'll like have seasons where they just randomly start doing massive copyright wipes, and it sucks. But Mangadex isn't that great of a site. It's good. It's a good resource. And I actually like their UI and their platform the best, but there's a ton of manga that you can't even read on that website. Where should I read in PC? Any recommendation for Choujin X? I mean, besides Viz, if you have the Viz subscription, you can read the whole thing. Other than that, I'm not too sure. Anyway, that was my manga reading rant. Let's finally, after 18 minutes, excuse me, let's read some Choujin X. So Choujin X, first page is this bird-like angel monster thing and this very scrawny naked person. It says it's something of an affliction. And then we cut to an airplane in the sky, and there's a child sleeping in their chair wearing like a farm hat. They drop a toy. This old lady on the plane hands them the toy. The old lady is like, "Are you on this plane by yourself?" And she says, "Yes, there's a fair coming up we just can't miss. Usually my grandfather goes, but he got his back hurt, so I'm going for him." They're going to a competition to decide the best produce. If you win, it makes a name for your produce, and that means more orders. So she's going to like a fair. Excuse me. So what would you do if you won the competition and got all kinds of money? I would get pesticide, a tractor, this, that, and I would get a ginormous house and a big dog. Really, that's all I want, is just a big dog. I'll have a handsome Goldilocks hubby. I mean, I guess that's the dream. And I'll have 9 kids. Okay, that's a bit much. So somebody says, "Pardon me, let me through." She goes to take her seatbelt off. Hurry the hell up, you old hag. Yeah, that sounds like flying, honestly. But then I'm guessing little girl, looks like a little girl. You're not supposed to hit old ladies, my mistake. And then they use some kind of smoke power to burn everyone on the plane. That honestly sounds like, flying in 2025. Someone crashing out over a minor inconvenience. What's going on, Party Jams? How you doing today? You know, we gotta have our clickbait title, but I thought, like I told everybody before, I thought today was a good day to start Choujin X for myself. Anyway, so he burns the little girl, burns everyone on the plane. The plane, I'm guessing, crashes. That's all we see. Someone is looking up at the plane. Someone at school. You're staring at, we cut to the teacher, who is randomly well endowed. You're staring at the sky again. I can't stand students who do that. Well, a plane just crashed. All right, anyway, so if... Bro. Teachers are wild. Kid literally just said a plane crashed. And she's like, all right, but homework. That's crazy. Whatever, classes are pointless, so we meet Tokyo Kurahara, age 16, a second year at Suru High. He's talking to the birds, the pigeons, the pigeon man. Anybody ever watch Hey Arnold, the pigeon man? The teacher's name is Miss Zonkas. What's the mangaka's name? Sui Ishida. Ishida has a colorful sense of humor, for sure. I wonder if this week's Young Sunday is out yet. Which magazine is that? Young Sunday. Weekly Young Sunday was a weekly manga magazine published by Shogakukan in Japan. When did that end? Or did they rename it? Final issue with 2008. So is this like 20 years ago? Or am I just crazy? Final Destination meme. Yeah, true. So somebody who reads Choujin X, is this supposed to be like 20 years in the past? Or is Wikipedia lying to me? Anyway, so he's walking home from school. Tokyo is walking home from school. There's a young lady being bothered by all these suspicious looking characters. He says she must be in trouble. There's an altercation in progress. He's calling his friend on the phone. So his friend jumps out of nowhere like Spider-Man. But he kicks the guy and breaks his arms. Literally breaks the bones in his arms, which is crazy. It's insane. Anyway, so they save Tokyo and his friend, save the day. They say, just doing what we could. Could I at least get your name? It's Azuma Higashi, and this is Tokyo. We're partners. Thank you very much. A passenger plane crashed behind the hill, apparently. It was a terrorist attack. The culprit might be a Choujin. Another Choujin. Is there a date on that news article? No. They get away with doing whatever they want, those Choujin. Pardon me, 1 second. Okay, never mind. Sorry about that. Since they all have that power, they could at least do something good with it. And they're in the Yamato Prefecture, which unfortunately I don't know my Japanese geography. Tokyo, you know why roly-polies gather under rocks? They're active in dry places. They go on the move. And they keep going and going. When they get to a damp place, they stop because it's not dry anymore. So they gather under damp rocks. It's a very strange analogy. I was wondering if Choujin are like roly-polies. Interesting. So we go back to the gangsters. The guy with the mohawk broke his arms. Somebody shows up with a bunch of suspicious needles. I'm going to take a wild guess, and this is like the Choujin gene. We then cut to Tokyo's home. Looks like his father and his sister. So Azuma won the judo or karate tournament, so they don't know. Interesting. Doesn't seem like they really pay attention. No, he won the judo and karate tournaments. When Azuma's popular, it makes me feel popular too. Yeah, so Tokyo and Azuma have an interesting partnership for sure. Unlike you, I have amazing potential. Remind me who's paying your tuition again? So I'm guessing that's his sister? She seems like his sister. We cut back to Tokyo when he was just a kid and they were at the zoo, and he was told to draw an animal that's just like him for the field trip project. So he chooses a vulture. And the kids make fun of him because he hangs around Azuma all the time. So he's the most like a vulture. Interesting. So they go to the site of the plane. I'm not quite sure. It seems like they're just in high school. So this is some pretty strange stuff to be doing as high schoolers. But, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. There were 200 survivors. Okay, so there's a possibility that there's now 200 new Choujin if it's like contagious. Most of it hasn't been damaged. So they're going home and they come across the guy with the mohawk. He's got casts on his arms, but his arms are all healed. He kicks Azuma, sends him flying, kicks him into a wall, but Azuma is far from hurt. He does a flying side kick and kicks the Mohawk Man in the face. But then the Mohawk Man turns into Mr. Fantastic and can stretch his neck. So he is the Flexi Choujin, which has to be the lamest name for a power I've ever heard. Elasticity, actually pretty cool. But calling yourself Flexi, that's pretty weak. And just like that, this manga got super dark. I mean, Mohawk Man, Mr. Flexi, is killing his friends. They beat the crap out of Azuma. So they jump into the water to make a getaway. Azuma points to one of the needles and he says, Tokyo, we can't. So Azuma wants to turn him and Tokyo into Choujin. And Tokyo's like, they're monsters. Like, would it? Obviously, it's a terrible idea. The whole premise is kind of silly. because they're like high school vigilantes. And instead of just going home and realizing this is ridiculous, they're like, oh no, let's give ourselves superpowers. So I'm curious to see how this turns out, because I feel like Azuma is going to end up paying the price here. So Azuma has lost his mind. He grabs the needle. We find out that Azuma saved Tokyo from being bullied when they were kids, and so they agreed from now on they would work together to be bad guys. So that's why they're always sort of doing their like hero duo dynamic. So there's one needle, I think. No, there's two needles, it looks like. There's two needles. Azuma grabs one, and then Tokyo grabs the other one. Azuma is like, what are you doing? You can't use that. And Tokyo is like, somehow it feels like if I don't do anything right now, I won't be able to stay friends with you. So this is really just an all-around dumb situation, but it's going to happen anyway. So they point the needles at each other. So this is very much like a mutual decision. So Flexi Man finds them. Flexilicious. But he gets defeated. There's a silhouette. And Tokyo is the bestial Choujin. And his skin has changed color, and now his face, he's got like this bird, almost plague doctor-like mask. And that is Choujin X. Decent first chapter. I like it. I feel like it's really only the kind of series that you would be interested in if you like, you know, superpowers and action and stuff like that. But pretty good so far. I can see why people like this. I like the art. The characters seem interesting, but the premise is slightly suspect. For sure. So chapter 2. Eli Otsuta grew up a ways from Yamato in a poor farming village in another prefecture. So this is the girl that supposedly died on the plane. So she did, in fact, survive the plane crash. She wakes up 16 hours since the plane crash. Okay. We're in South Yamato. Everyone's like, what's going on here? The MC reminds me of Ray from Promised Neverland. Sort of. I can kind of see the connection. So these adults wake her up because she's just randomly in the middle of nowhere. And one of the adults says, the airport's to the north, the tower's in between on the opposite side. So she goes, all right, well, can you show me the way? And then she gets cut off, excuse me. There's an explosion. And it turns out the man who blew up the plane tracked her down. And he says, what if I escort you? Some great paneling, by the way. The paneling in this manga is awesome so far. So the little girl runs away. She's doing some pretty impressive parkour for like an 8-year-old girl. But this man, he's using his fire force abilities. He's not letting her get away. Clearly, he's after her for some reason. I don't know why. So now she steals a scooter. She's like, I need to get away from this guy. He steals a scooter. So now they're in a scooter chase in the middle of the night. She's got no idea where she is. She ditches the scooter. She finds a tractor. And now we find a gang of people that have lamb heads. Interesting. So the mysterious Choujin approaches this group of gangsters and says, if you catch that tractor, you'll get a flip phone. So this has to be like 2008, because if someone told me they were going to pay me for a job with a flip phone, I'd be like, what? So this must be like 2008, because that was the only time flip phones were cool. Right around the time people were using Blackberries. And then we get a name drop. The mysterious stranger, the smoke Choujin, his name is Chandra Hume. Pretty straightforward. So now the girl's on the tractor, but she's being chased by a biker gang that, for whatever reason, is wearing goat heads or sheep heads. So this is a pretty wild manga. I mean, they're literally riding motorcycles and tractors on the tops of buildings. And we don't even know why this guy is chasing this random little girl, other than the fact that she kind of pissed him off. And I can't say it enough, the paneling in this manga is so good. God damn. Ishida is like very expressive. I hope Tokyo Ghoul is more or less the same as far as like the paneling and the character expression, because there's a nice range with the art style and it's very like deliberate, which you rarely see with manga. Well, a lot of artists, I should say. Anyway, so the little girl, she's still being chased. She gets knocked over. She's off the tractor. It looks like she's turning into smoke. So she grabs some random tool on the ground, stabs her hand, does something to her arm. A human perfectly equipped with the markings of a Choujin, though your inanity is a matter of slight concern. So there's Chandra says, this is your power. Were you infected with my power? To think this is the result of the first attempt. This is exactly the talent I was looking for. You've passed. I'll teach you everything there is to know about Choujin. I won't do you wrong. And the little girl is like, what are you talking about? And of course, she's like, your power sucks. You're a dick. Leave me alone. So that just pisses this guy off even more. He's got the emotional maturity of an 8-year-old, which is hilarious. 2008, it's almost like nostalgia, which is so crazy to say, right? But it really was like almost 20 years ago. Probably older, because flip phones were like 2006-ish, I think. Something like that. So this little girl, who I don't think we got her name yet, and Chandra, they get sent flying. This masked stranger joins the fight. Looks like a buff Ninja Turtle. He attacks Chandra. He's wearing some kind of ninja costume. Fellows like him are targeting people with aptitude like you. So this guy takes his mask off. He says, I suppose you might have an aptitude. My name is Sandek Hoshi, Yamato Prefecture's Choujin Protector. He's a Choujin, but we don't know what his power is. And he's got like a weirdly square face. He looks like anime Fabio, but what's her name is like madly in love with him. It's love at first sight. He says, what's your name, little Choujin? So then we cut to Tokyo, who's trying to take a shower, but he's still got his bird face. So that's a new thing. So there seems to be a comparison, a parallel between the unnamed farm girl and Tokyo. Because now they're like, okay, so I'm a Choujin. Now what? So potentially parallel storylines here, or maybe connected fates, dual destinies. Not sure. What is the lo-fi playlist? You can go on Spotify or YouTube. The name is Bits and Hits. Channel, producer, whatever. They make lo-fi 8-bit remakes of like popular video game music and like movie music. World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, Halo, Minecraft, all that good stuff. They're on YouTube, they're on Spotify. Go to Bits and Hits. They have a little 8-bit heart logo. I use it for all the streams, excuse me. How many chapters? Because I mean, these are pretty long chapters. So volume 1 is 6 chapters. That sounds about right. Chapter 3. Okay, significantly shorter. 30 chapters. So, Tokyo. We go back to Tokyo and Azuma. Tokyo is carrying Azuma home, carrying him to the hospital. So they're going to the hospital, but Azuma is like, dude, you can't go to the hospital like that. You look like a monster. If people see you, word will get out that you're a Choujin. So they split up. They're like, let's figure this out. You need to hide that you're a Choujin. Until you control your own body, you can't go outside. So Tokyo's pissed because the only reason he did this was to stay together with Azuma. And now Azuma is like, you should probably split up for a while. So this sucks. So he waits till everyone leaves, his sister, his father. He waits till they leave, and now he's having his breakfast, and he's got to try to eat with his beak, which is no bueno. I spent a whole 30 minutes eating pancakes. Listen, I could spend about 2 hours eating pancakes. Love pancakes. So he's crashing out because now he's like, this is my whole life now. How am I ever going to fix this, right? I mean, he's got this weird bird face and he can't fix it. So he calls Ozma to find out what he's doing. Ozma won't call him back. Texts him, right? He texts him to figure out what's going on. So he hides his face, uses a jacket to hide his face. He's like, all right, I'm going to 7-Eleven. I'll be right back. But the sister is like, wait, could you buy me a soda? So he sneaks out. He managed to survive. His heart is beating like crazy. He doesn't even know what he's doing at this point. So he goes to Ozma's house. So he cannot get Ozma off the brain. He's like, gotta know what Ozma is up to. So he calls Ozma on his phone while he's standing outside his house. This is a guess, but I think Choujin turn into the form they most desire. That's what I thought after seeing you. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because... although, I don't know. That's a working theory. Ouji's lying to... Ouji's lying to you. He was told. That's fair. It was true. I'm sure Yato Gami told me at least a handful of times to read Choujin X. What's going on, Yato? How you doing today? What are you reading these days? So far, I'm loving Choujin X. So, anyway, Tokyo is freaking out, and Ozma screams on the phone. He says, think for yourself for once. So now Ozma feels really bad because he's the one who got them to take the drug in the first place, and Tokyo was paying the price. Ozma doesn't have to suffer any consequences. But anyway, we cut back to Mr. Mohawk Man, and he's being beat up by his boss, it looks like. The boss is like, I gave you 3 needles, and you came back with 0. And he's like, well, there are these kids. They probably took them. So he cuts off his head. That's no bueno. Chapters are getting shorter and shorter. So we'll probably finish the first volume, and then that'll be it for today's stream. We got 3 more chapters. These days, I'm obsessed with a regular book, not manga. You should check it out. But if you do, you got to do the audiobook version. It's called Dungeon Crawler Carl, excuse me. It's my new favorite thing. Let me see. Why is there a picture of Seth MacFarlane? Interesting. Science fiction and fantasy lit RPG book series written by Matt Dinneman. That sounds pretty dope. Huh. I'll have to check it out. I love me some science fiction, so I have a feeling I would like it. It's got 7 books right now, and it's very good. I promised myself I would read some Brandon Sanderson and read Lord of the Rings because I have the book and I've never read the book. I've watched the movies a million times. But when I finally have time to read stuff that isn't the manga I'm talking about in videos or streams, I might do this one first. Anyway, so Tokyo's talking to the birds because he's feeling all lonely. Tokyo doesn't know what to do. He's trying to think for himself. He's like, okay, well, what would Azuma do? So his goal right now is he's trying to figure out how to control his power. Did he go to the zoo? Yeah, so he goes to the zoo. But it's locked up. But there's some girl in this really strange outfit. She's like a pretty girl. I guess Tokyo was all shy of her. But the girl's like, we can go through if we jump over the fence. So he's following this girl. She's like, all right, where do you want to go see? And he's like, can we go check out the birds? Mind you, he's still got his face covered, so she can't see what he really looks like. So the girl pushes Tokyo towards a snake to make fun of him. So clearly she's having a laugh at his expense. So she talks to the snake, and the snake says the birds are that way. So this girl's giving me all kinds of red flags, and not in a good way. Well, maybe a little. So he goes over to the vulture. He finally finds the vulture. He's talking to the vulture. He's like, do you remember me? So he's talking to it like a pet. And this girl's like, you're kind of adorable. And then she turns into a snake and eats his head. Kind of saw that one coming. How long is this chapter? 26 pages? So she is working for the gang boss. So she knew who he was all along. But she can turn her head into a snake, which is a... Oh no, she can turn her whole body into snakes. Makes sense. Seth MacFarlane is doing the adaptation. Okay, it's got to be good then, because I know Seth MacFarlane takes his sci-fi pretty seriously. He's a big Star Trek guy. Damn, alright, I might have to check it out then. Speaking of Seth MacFarlane, did anyone see that they're doing an animated adaptation of Ted? It seems like they're doing a continuation of the movies, but I could be wrong. So Tokyo gets attacked by this snake lady, but then he gets saved by the nameless farm girl, who is the new smoke Choujin. Interesting. So the snake lady attacks the smoke Choujin. She's trying to use her abilities, not really working so well. Just kidding. She blows her head off. She uses her 100% power, full beastification, excuse me. And she turns into a snake with a full set of teeth, which is only the creepiest thing I have ever seen. I thought fish with teeth are creepy, but a snake with teeth is even worse. And then we get a random color panel in the whole volume. We haven't seen one color page, and then one page is randomly colored in green. And that is volume 1. So honestly, like, kind of a low-key series. I can kind of see why this hasn't, like, blown up. It's got a really cool power system. Nothing, like, revolutionary, but definitely interesting. I like the dynamic with the main characters. So I could see how people, like, really like this, but it's not, like, their favorite series or anything like that. I'm more focused on the new King of the Hill. Dude, it's so funny. I was watching episodes today. I love King of the Hill. Love that show. Anyway, that being said, before I start ranting about King of the Hill, that is going to do it for today's stream. Sorry about delay on video. We've had some technical issues and some schedule issues. So next video will drop tomorrow. Then there'll be a video Sunday. We will stream Sunday as usual. That'll be a Shonen Jump stream. Looking forward to talking about the new Odor of the Flame chapter. And then, of course, we'll do Dawn to Dawn on Monday. But, ooh, we got a question before I leave. Question, did you see any original black and white, like 1920s era? If you're talking about movies, no, never. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's stream. Thanks everybody for a great stream as